Hello once again, everyone. So, bonus video this week. I actually meant to film it last week, but this is for my sword and buckler guys, as we've been working through some basics. And what this is basically another sword and buckler cutting pattern that can also kind of turn into a kata, and I'm sort of treating it as such, as it's a great introduction to some of the main concepts that you'll be utilizing for sword and buckler. So, first off, if you don't have a lot of context for the various uses of sword and buckler, the easiest way for me to summarize this is emphasizing more of the Lignitzer or Talhofer sort of era of sword and bucklers, so not quite into the Bolognese tradition or other later stuff. Not that these concepts wouldn't work well for that, just that this is emphasizing those points a little bit more. It's a very minor stylistic difference. But for this, we're going to be moving through, it's just a series of 4 cuts, and it's going to take us through a couple different positions that I'll explain a little more in detail, but I'm not going to get too much into it. So, for our first cut, we're going to go ahead and begin with our right foot forward like we're drawing. This can be just fun, you don't have to do this, but from here, I'm going to pass back and draw up into basically ox or bogan, right? But the reason I'm doing this is because it sets me up. I've passed back away from my opponent. My shield is presented fully toward them. I'm going to turn my sword over and present a cut down from my right. Now, this one should be relatively sheer, so I'm going here, and I'm marrying my sword and my buckler together with a pass forward of my right foot. A good thing to check here would be making sure that if they're not quite touching, they're at least close enough that you'll have the ability to close it by the time the sword tip could get through between. But from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that cut continue through, and I'm going to turn my sword up and kind of past my arm, and then as it's coming through, I'm going to turn my arm over to then cut from my left. All my hand is doing under my buckler is going from here, thumb up, to thumb down. So, here's that again. First position, 1 cut, 2 cut. Now it should be nice and extended. Make sure this cut is coming from your left, so it should end up like this, not like this or straight down, and should be relatively close to your buckler. The idea with this first part is that either I'm attacking first, or if my opponent is attacking first, I can parry / defend myself as I attack. We make a clash, and then I do my follow-up attack to the outside of the arm with a little bit of lateral movement. So that's the first 2 parts. Following this, I'm going to go ahead and my opponent is going to back off. So I'm going to push my buckler forward so it presents a threat, well, a cover rather. And I'm going to drop my sword back into basically name and cuts. So here's that again. Here, out. Now from here, I'm going to lead in with a cut from below. So I'm going to push my sword up into the Doppelschild with a pass forward. Very important thing here, just like the first cut, this one can also be a defense or an attack. So I want to make sure that if they're cutting at me first, I'm nice and solid so that they can't hit me. And vice versa, if I'm attacking first, I want to make sure that I'm nice and solid to lock them out. This should be up above to your left side, not directly in front, and certainly not below your hairline. Nice and up. So, finish here, open, first cut. Second cut, I'm going to kind of ride off that parry that they're going to do. I'm going to let my sword continue to lift. I'm going to let it turn around the outside of my arm. At the same time, I'm going to go ahead and start squaring my buckler up. So this is best shown from the front. Through here, I'm going to square my buckler up. I'm going to step out to the side as I execute my cut. Now you notice I'm not directly lined up with the camera. If this center line here is my opponent, I'm moving my buckler against their weapons and attacking their outside line, either the arm or the face. So I want to be slightly more offline than I would if I were just doing this linearly. From there, I can just relax back into my first position. So, here's the whole thing from the front, and then from the side. 1, 2, guard, 3, 4, relax. Here's it now from the side. 1, 2, guard, 3, 4, guard. And I'll go ahead and do it facing this way as well. 1, 2, that's really it. So some finer points, if you want to stick around and hear them, is that, like I said, the initial cuts out of your right side, so your power side, are going to be ones that can either attack or defend. So if someone attacks at me first, I can defend. If someone attacks at me first, I can defend and counter hit at the same time. Alternatively, if you're attacking with them initially, you have the power necessary to hit. Those tend to be a little more linear, not quite, I'm still stepping offline of course, but I'm not going to be doing a large step offline. The follow-up cuts are always going to involve the buckler moving toward my inside and a little bit more offline. This first one can also be me pushing against the sword if I'm close enough. If I'm not, I still just turn it over all the same. And certainly this guy, I want to be pushing against their weapons to give myself this nice opening. The two wards that we move through are going to be everything that defends me up from up high, and then basically everything that defends me from low, though a little bit more open and added for the cut. The idea being that my buckler is presented squarely when I'm in these positions, so that you must take the time to go around. Otherwise though, we do move through some other positions, of course. We move through point forward, here, and back to here. But that's going to be the nice simple pattern. Hopefully you guys can get good use out of it. It's a very useful one. And probably once everyone's a little more comfortable with it, and then I have a partner that can really flow through it with me, I will film the defenders part of it, and I'll start talking about how it can be turned into this full version of Kata. But for now at least, thank you very much for watching. We'll go over some other techniques another time.